I am joined as ever by Laure Jackson. Hello, Anne.
Hi, it is great to be here.
Now, we talk about all things sensory related. Let me start with this because I saw it in the news this week. It was somebody who's a politician. I've forgotten which party, I've forgotten, it doesn't matter. But they made a comment about, we need to get children out of headphones in the classroom. That's just ridiculous. They should, just sit there and get on with it. It's silly. Is basically a summation of what they said. Now, my immediate thought was, what planet are you on? And then it seems a lot of people also said, seriously, what now? So, not what are your reflections on that, but
Hmm.
I guess for people who are not me and don't have the luxury of spending an hour with you every week, why do we need to understand that people might need headphones or go and sit in a dark room or sit on a bungee cord or sit and swing? Because to the most people, that's just odd behavior. Now, I know it isn't, but I've had the privilege of spending an hour with you for the last 2 years. So, how do you help people, before we get into today's topic, understand the reasons why in 2025 those are actually valid, and actually making a child sit for 8 hours a day in a school silent at a classroom may not be the best way of learning?
Mhm. We really need to help people understand how our bodies are made and the understanding of how our bodies, how our brains connect with our bodies, and the importance of what our body does to feed into our brains to enable it to learn. So, for example, if you take the example of not wanting people not to wear headphones in school, in work, or anything like that. There is a misunderstanding, there is a disconnect between them knowing what the brain actually is perceiving through our hearing and how our hearing can pick things up differently. There is just a complete ignorance as to that the processing that goes on and the way that we all process differently. And a lot of that comes through the education that we're actually not giving our children in school so that they can grow up as informed adults about the basics of the mechanisms of sensory integration and processing in the brain.
Now, for me, it's about 15, 20-year journey. Way before I met you, I already started to understand, having spent, when I was 15, I spent a couple of weeks of work experience here in the UK. I worked in a special needs school, specifically not for people with physical disabilities, but clearly that was a massive part of who people were. So we had people in wheelchairs and with sticks, missing a leg, or they had struggles with their eyes and vision, and there was a massive plethora. But even then, that's 30 years ago for me. I started to see people need to do them differently. Because if you will think of, a man with two legs, two arms, head, two ears, two eyes, no glasses, well, of course, that's kind of the norm. But of course, when it comes to sensory health, we may not see a physical disability in that man with two arms, two legs, able to walk and run, but there may be sensory processing issues, which are, of course, essentially like a mental problem. They are invisible to our physical perception.
Mhm.
Therefore, that person may well have an inability to hold a pen, hold a piece of paper, be able to walk in a straight line without being able to focus on something so they don't fall over and bounce off the walls. So there's going to be struggles. But of course, with sensory health, we don't necessarily see big sign. Yes, this person has issues with over processing sound or over processing touch, because there's no obvious walking stick or wheelchair for that.
Yeah, it is one of the most hidden disabilities and one of the most hidden issues. Not so keen on the word disability necessarily in this way, but it can be very disabling in the society that we're in. So yeah, it is very hard. This is something that is unseen from the outside, and it is only behaviors that tell us when people get more anxious, or they get a bit more stubborn, or they get a bit more controlling, or they avoid places, and they're not so socially adept. They don't join in with things in the same ways. It's all the behaviors that people have to second guess as to what is going on when they don't know. Sometimes they know there's a sensory processing issue underneath it, but a lot of people won't, because that's not part of most people's education. Or we learn about the five senses, but actually we've missed two, three, four more important ones that we can keep adding, because there are more than the typical eight that I normally oversee and seven that I definitely work with, rather than just the five: the sights, the sounds, the touch, and the smell and the taste. We definitely need to be getting to seven senses to be teaching people about, if not the eight, the major ones.
If you see somebody who is unable physically to hear, which I can now understand is different from inability to process sound, because that's a different problem. But if
Yeah.
somebody can't hear physically, see, I've learned something in the last 2 years.
You.
If they can't hear because they have a complete 100% deafness, I can watch them from afar and see that they are deaf. If they are trying to communicate with somebody, because there's particular noises they make with the mouth because they can't hear the same way that we would. There's particular, I mean, sign language is an obvious one. You know, the hands, I'm not going to try, I don't know. The hands are moving, doing sign stuff. So we can see physical symptoms, markers, clues as to what's going on. But when you're talking about somebody who isn't physically deaf, so they don't have 100% inability to hear, but they have 100% inability to process hearing, now it's a whole different visible obviousness of something they're struggling with.
Yeah, that was one of the first things. It was a special school, ironically, one of the first places where I went into to speak about sensory processing, because they were a typical special school and hadn't had much information about sensory processing, just because that's the way it was at the moment, or it is at the moment. Things are changing, thankfully. But the biggest thing that they also said to me was, we have a child and we've spent ages trying to get their headphones off them, or their ear defenders off them, because they thought it was such a strange thing. Now, we are talking 10, 20 years ago, but it's we need to understand. We need to take the time to realize what this actually means for people. And they don't have to have them on all the time in any way, shape, or form. But there's forms of regulation. There's times that they're brilliantly used in certain circumstances. They're brilliant. They give them the opportunity for the brain just to relax and breathe, and lower those arousal levels, bring stress levels down in the body, so that then you can take them off again, and then you can function again. There's so many different things to do, and so many different ways to use lots of these tools that are to help us function and thrive.
Which we need to celebrate seeing. I mean, okay, yes, we know some people will use that to their own ends. Yeah, I got headphones on, I haven't got to listen to you. Of course, people will use it nefariously and, in a very wrong way. But as with anything else, so what? That doesn't make headphone wearing in a school bad. It just means that, hey, there are some that will abuse the system. Of course there are. We understand that. But that shouldn't make somebody wearing headphones, no, take them off, you're being stupid, everyone is. No. That may well be. The fact they exist in the first place mean that some people are being helped by it. And unless we're an expert, we really shouldn't be making comments.
Yeah. Or even like that, there are some people think, oh, well, we'll do this. We'll put it on for 10 minutes or for 20 minutes because they've heard through Facebook or down the line that this is what the kind of thing we do. And it's just like, I understand the principle. I appreciate the heart of what you're trying to do. But actually, let's get a proper assessment done first. Let's have a look at things properly. Don't just come out with some of the pat things that are out there in society because you think it's a good idea. Please contact someone so we can actually look at these things and make it workable and honouring and respectful and make a difference for that person.
It's the issue of the internet, doctor. I read it one time, therefore I know. Well, you may know a piece of something possibly, but not necessarily, because it may not have been true in the first place. Even if the person saying it wore a white coat and called themselves a doctor, they could be a doctor of theology, not a medical doctor. Whole other thing. Right. Now, we've been working through on these sessions for 2 years. That's kind of cool. We're working through at the moment, not so much looking at questions or stuff going on, but a sensory healthy problem. So we looked at sensory healthy offices, sensory healthy circuses and Christmases and all that. I have one for you today because it's very much in my mind. We've done outdoors, we've done travel, all that, airports. Sensory healthy hotel stays. Because there's a lot you can't control. For example, the heating is always 85 billion degrees for some reason, or it's like minus 85. So there's all these things you cannot control. Is it dusty? Is it not dusty? Is it clean? Is the toilet clean? Is there soap on the left-hand side or the right-hand side? And is the floor being clean? Is the chair in the wrong place for you? Is the bin got stuff in it and it's supposed to be clean and it freaks you out? All these things, he says, as a man who doesn't stay in hotels that often, they can affect us. But I guess this one is interesting because we are arriving into a domain that we have basically zero control. We can't prepare for exactly that room. That's impossible. I've looked at the hotel's photos. Do you know what? I've never stayed in those rooms yet. Let me just put it that way. So all that sort of the preparing that you would, regularly suggest as a sensory health expert, you can't do with any certainty. So sensory healthy hotel stays.
Yes, sensory healthy hotel stays. That is my experience. I do a lot of hotel staying. I think with coming from a little island, I travel a lot, and certainly now. And it's I'm here, there, and everywhere. And I do have a kind of routine when I go round. I go around the room. Absolutely, as you say, I do try and find the hotels where you can look at the room that you are actually buying or that you are purchasing. There are some websites that are superb for that. So if they're not matching the picture with the bedroom that you're going to be in, then yeah, have a little caution about that. But yeah, try and find the right room. But I do go around, I have a look and I hear, I listen, I pay attention to the air conditioning or the heating system to say, is that going to affect me overnight? I do have my earplugs. Sometimes I bring my little eye things, but my vision's not so much of a problem, so I don't need the eye blackouts. But I do have a set. I have a few sets in case I feel I need to take them out because the actual blackouts of the curtains of the rooms that I'm living in or staying in might not be there. I have a feel of the weight of the duvet and I go around and I unhinge it because it's really hard for me if it's too tight. My legs don't have that room. It's that proprioceptive tactile feedback. I need my quilt to be a certain way, and I appreciate it being a certain height. And then you've got the pillows, and then the height of all of those. And then, as you say, all the bathroom stuff and how you open the taps and how far away the toilet paper is from the sink and what you've got to hold on to get in and out the shower or the height of it. And yeah, we could go on. It's fascinating. It's absolutely fascinating looking at it all. But yes, go and tell me about your quilt experiences then. There's something in
No,
there.
only because if I don't know who thinks this is good. I guess it looks pretty on a postcard, but when they get the duvet and they kind of bolt it in place, so the only way you're going to get in that bed is never without taking the entire thing off. Like who sleeps like that at home? It's like shoelaces. When you buy a pair of shoes for the first time, what do? Rip out the laces? Because which person thought anybody was ever going to wear shoes like that? Seriously, it's stupid. And it's the same with the bed. Like, really, why would we want it that tight? Because unless you're going to stick a ruler in there, no human being is going to fit in there. Not ever.
Sorry. Oh, I just need to gather myself. That's so funny. Yeah. So, yeah, I'm so glad I'm not alone because sometimes you do these things. You think, is it just me? But no, you're right. Unless you are a ruler, you will not fit inside there. But the weights and the warmth. Really important to see if you can control the temperature. And then also the lighting in hotels is one of my personal bugbears because I like to have a lot of light, and a lot of the hotels have a lot of they don't have the main light in the middle of the room. I mean, it looks beautiful. It's very cozy. It's a lovely feel, but I just need to be able to see what I'm doing. So
The
I go
small
around and
thing.
switch all the lamps on all the way around, all the way around if they have any lamps, just to get light, or I do things in the bathroom because there they've got proper lighting, in the bathrooms, and the bedrooms are all dim. I understand that, but if it's not daylight, I struggle because they don't seem to have bright lights in the actual bedrooms itself. So torches are really helpful. I use my torch on my phone, thinking I really shouldn't need to do this. This is a hotel, but
But,
yes.
but this is the thing. We're going to a hotel. We've paid in advance for the lighting to be working. Why is it the only lighting that exists that's anywhere near sensible for human capacity to exist is in the bathroom where you don't want to be because there's supposed to be a TV in a loungy area? So, yeah, let's just sit in the dark, shall we? Like, really, because that's what I do at home. I sit in the dark and walk around and bounce off the walls. That's normal. It's not just me then.
Oh, what else have we got about hotels?
I,
So the sights and the sounds. I'll tell you, that it is really interesting that the whole bathing experience. And I have to say, most of the time, the hotels that I'm in, the showers are super if you get the right, if you're not at the end of the whole heating system or something.
Yeah.
where it's really lovely if you can get the right temperature. The pressure, I like quite a hard shower, so that normally works well as well. But for some people who might have more body awareness issues, climbing in and out and over a bath, because they're mostly over bath showers,
Mm.
that can be tricky. That is hard for someone, and there's nowhere to sit. It would be nice if they don't have bath boards, which I understand because they're normally quite plasticky, and they're what a bath board is, for those who don't know, it's a piece of normally plastic that sits over the top of the bath so that you can actually sit onto that and then lower yourself down into the bath. So if baths were just created with a bit of a lip and a ledge at the top end or the bottom end, opposite to where the taps are, then people can actually just sit on that, swivel their legs over, and then lower themselves down into the bath. But a lot of the hotels are like high baths, and you have to climb over those to get into the shower because, of course, they can't. Most don't have the luxury, or at least the ones I pay for, don't have the luxury of having both a bath and a shower. But that's a little design feature, if possible, to get those in for those that struggle getting over, who don't have that vestibular proprioceptive balance, or any other joint or other issues that they may have to get in.
Let me get onto the chairs. So, Joe and I were in Scotland months ago. We stayed in a hotel, and I don't quite know who designed the chair. I expect it's somebody who thought, I'm going to make a chair that is the least comfortable possible for a human being
Oh
in
dear.
order for you to never use it, for it'll last a long, long time. I have to assume that because honestly, what else was it for? It looks normal. It's the wrong height. It's the wrong width. There's no back support. It leans really far back. So you're sort of, trying to pull yourself forwards the whole time. Sort of, yeah,
Uh-huh.
I'll just sit here then. Like, I know it needs to look postcard perfect because then they can get more sales. We know it's going to be middle of the road. So the mattress isn't going to be really hard or really soft. It's going to be in the middle for the majority of
Mhm.
people. But is it not too much to ask to say, please, can we have chairs that we can sit in for an hour without having to go for a walk because we're now stiff from the chair?
That is a new experience for me. I am really fascinated as to what your chair actually was. That's quite something.
It looked normal. It was just a normal chair with sides. It had a cushion and a back, and everything about it was like a tub chair thing. It looked normal
Right.
until you sit it and you think, who created the angle? Was this the broken angle copyright that you were allowed to have for a chair because it was cheap? Because seriously,
Mm.
this is not a chair that I want to sit on for more than
Yeah.
about 5 minutes. So we end up
I,
sitting on the bed.
Yeah, I went to actually, this was a gym at a hotel. So it wasn't in the hotel itself, but it was just outside the gym. And something had happened to their bucket seat. It was like a tub seat thingy. And I thought you probably haven't actually sat in that because it's really not comfortable. It's really not a nice experience. So I was able to go to the hotel and say, I'm not sure because it looks lovely, where it's positioned. But I'm sure they would like, if it is there as an implement to use, as in a chair to sit on, that it might be quite pleasant and pleasurable for the guest to do so. So I went to the front desk and I explained and said, perhaps you might like to try it just in case it's me. Trying to be as diplomatic and as tactful as possible.
Hmm.
And needless to say, the next time I went, it wasn't there. So well, they'd replaced it.
It makes me wonder, people's bedrooms are pretty much the same. You go to, I don't know, a department store with a bed section. You're going to
Mm,
have beds, bedside tables. There'll be something for the back so they can sit in bed. You go to a hotel, nothing, just a shelf 4 foot from your bed. I understand that they want a room that can be a double bed or a twin bed or a family room. The
mm,
more repurposing they can do, the better. I get that, and that's fine. We understand that. But
mhm.
can we not have a bed like a normal bed and a chair like a normal chair and a table like a normal chair that you can sit at? Like, I don't think that's too radical a concept. And yet, I've been in quite a few hotels, and it always seems to be the same. Did the person that make this ever sit in this chair or spend a night in
Mm.
this room with the curtains that are hanging down and the window that doesn't shut, or the window that's got a safety lock that's broken because someone got sick and tired of, cut through it last time, so you can actually open the window and get fresh air. These are normal concepts. I understand insurance, and I get that, but you know, can you not make the room for someone to sleep in?
Do you know what? Something else that I experienced while I was out in America, which was kind of new, was these stairs for pets to be able to get up onto your bed.
Say what now?
A pet So the pet doesn't kind of jump up, which I thought normal pets did, but I don't have a pet, so I'm speaking a bit out of turn. But there's steps that you put up against your bed so that your dog, or I presume a cat, or I don't know what, any other animal that you might want, can actually get up to your bed nice and easily
I
and manage stairs. So I thought this was a completely new one on me this year.
so I know in America you can have your emotional support animal. So someone took a Shetland pony. Does that mean you can take your Shetland pony into the hotel onto the bed? Because I think it's going to break the bed. Why? Why?
I didn't ask any further. I didn't know any further. Maybe somebody could, write in and explain and enlighten us, or say, oh yeah, absolutely, or we think it's brilliant, or we use this for this, or that. It was just something that I'd never ever seen before and never even thought of.
I find that very baffling. Are you sure it wasn't for little children?
No, I was told it was a pet. So for a pet, but like, I think I
Right.
was that shocked. I didn't really pursue the conversation.
Oh, I mean, I'm lost for words on that. Can't, I mean, why would you want a pet on the bed? Two, if it's on the bed, can't it get up and get off? Why does it need stairs? Unless it's a decrepit, like 85-year-old dog, in which case it probably shouldn't be in the hotel room.
And it probably wouldn't manage up and down the stairs. Going down, going down the stairs might be a bit of a hazard.
Uh,
Upstairs, I can manage, but like how do they manage down the stairs? But yeah, I have to say, I did wonder if it was for a little person. It was like, no, this is a pet. You know.
a
So
pet staircase for the bed in a hotel room, because that's the first thing I go into a hotel room and make sure I can tick off my list. Is there a ladder for the dog I haven't got in this room to be able to get onto the bed?
there you go. So that's lighting, smells. Oh yeah, make sure that you bring your own smells if you are sensitive to smells, because that can be a real, yeah, really
Oh,
off-putting. Very hard to sleep if you are smelling something that you don't want to be smelling. The noises, yeah, it's the ear defenders, it's the earplugs, it's listening to music, it's putting something else on in the background. Um, yeah, getting in and out of bed, the weight, the temperature, bathrooms, the taps, working those, and you're trying to work out which way does the hot water go, because your normal way of your motor plan, what your muscle memory remembers and what your brain remembers about how you do your own tap at home, and especially if you're a bit woozy during the night or you're half asleep, heading to the bathroom, and it's just like, oh, which way? And of course, well, if you're an American, you switch the lights off the wrong, well, of course, I call it the wrong way, because of course I would do, but you switch it up to switch it on down. The switch is opposite
it's
to,
the
to,
wrong way. Let's just say what it is. It's the wrong way. We go on is down. It just is. The rest of the world catch up with the UK. Seriously, lights them backwards. It just doesn't make sense. I've never used one. I've only seen in the films, and I always think, why are you turning the light off and the lights come on? You've got a problem with your electrics. Get an electrician. Honestly, right. So there is so much about hotel rooms that
Mhm.
you cannot prepare for.
Mm.
You can't prepare for noisy neighbours who come home at 3 o'clock in the morning drunk into the room. You
Yeah.
can't plan for that. You can't prepare for the dog that's not allowed on site that's next door barking that the front desk doesn't want to deal with. Had that one. No,
Mm.
it's not a dog. Yes, it is. That's a very weird sounding fish. So
Whoa.
I think there are all these issues that you cannot plan for. So most of what you would say to people is prepare, plan, look at photos. I mean, I've been in a few of the chain hotels. I have never ever seen a room even remotely close to what they say it's like, because of course they're not going to show you anything other than the most perfect room, which they probably don't do anything with apart from take photos for. So and they always say, don't they? This is an approximation. The
Mm.
actual room might vary. Yes, yes, like different hotel chain vary. So how do you prepare for a hotel room that you cannot actually fully prepare for?
Yeah, I think it is that expectation that this forewarn them that this may not look like what it's presented to be at the moment. So I think there's an expectation that won't be there, but at least there should be some basics of bed. It is going over the things that should be there. The bed, don't even know whether it'll have a desk. Don't know. It should have like bedside tables. That's typically, I think the most budget I've stayed in has just been a bedside table and a bed and a pillow and the quilt. And then you go out for your care. I think if you talk through all the various scenarios that might be there and make sure that someone has their special blanket or their smells or something that they like to listen to, bring the things that they do want and that they can place around the room or can place in the bed with them so that there is that enough security. We talk about a security blanket for good reason. It's not just for little children. Security blankets, we all need things that make us feel safe and comfortable and relaxed. And just put it in, bring an extra bag, bring an extra hotel bag like you would for those going to hospital. You have your hospital bag and you have your hotel bag. There are things that are important to you that will help your sensory health, that will help your mental health, and ultimately just help you thrive in better health all over by having your own things with you and things that are important.
I have an emotional support teddy bear.
Yeah.
Not ashamed to say that at all. It goes everywhere with me. The one time someone forgot, I don't pack my own stuff anymore because I'm always packing the car. So I don't pack personal stuff. My wife does that, Joe. And the one time she didn't pack my teddy bear, I was quite miffed. I was put out. Like, where is
Mm.
it? I had that when I was trucking all around the country, and it always goes with me. And I don't care if anybody thinks, oh, he's got a teddy bear. Yes, I do, because it's got special meaning. It sits in my bedroom on a shelf, or it goes with me wherever I go.
I was chatting to a lady on the plane coming back from the States, and she was talking about when she'd left her child's teddy back at the hotel. And it was quite a fun thing that the hotel actually had dressed the teddy up and they'd put it in with a cocktail stick and like a little drinks as if the teddy was having a lovely time on a holiday. So not for the child to get distraught that she'd left her teddy
Oh,
behind,
lovely.
that Ted they were going to send Teddy back, but that at the moment Teddy was just sipping a lovely cocktail by the pool. And so it was so funny. It was so lovely. And I thought, oh, that's just a lovely touch. And yeah, they got the teddy sent back through the post. Lovely.
There are things we can do. There are things we can prepare for. The most important thing I've just heard is prepare for the fact you can't prepare for
Mm,
everything. So
yeah.
find something that can be a visual or, I mean, smell is good. If you got something, think about the person after you in the hotel. Nothing too strong. Don't start sticking, plug-in air fresheners. Very
Mm.
bad idea. Personally allergic to those, so I would not be breathing if I was the next person in that room, even if it's been cleaned. So do think about the next person, but something that can remind you of, I suppose, your lounge, your home, your play area, whatever might work for you. That's quite good. But I think the most important thing you said was prepare for the fact you can't be prepared fully,
Hmm. Hmm.
because that, ironically, that is something you can prepare for. The fact that you can't be prepared because here's the bedroom, here's the door, here's the window. Well, if it's not like that, they're going to freak out potentially. But if you
Mm.
say we just don't know, I suppose you could treat it as sort of an entertaining thing or an exciting journey. I guess maybe an exciting journey all the way there. So you've got lots of. I mean, would it help to have lots of new things, or would it just be better to have everything the same until you arrive at the hotel? Or would that depend?
It does depend. I would limit the newness. If you already know that someone is a little bit more anxious when things are different, then I would where possible, limit. My approach would be to do it. There are some people that might do it the other way around, and it's just like, oh, let's go for it. Because actually, by the time they get there, they'll be that overwhelmed with all the newness that they won't care, and they'll just. But I think they'll just shut down, and it won't actually be any good for them at all. So yeah, no, I would always be the one of let's not let's just try and protect the systems where we can. Try and keep everything as normal, as much as possible, and as routine as possible until the change needs to happen, but be preparing them that the change is on its way, even if it's just the hour before. Because sometimes if you give too much preparation and too much notice, the anxiety can hit the roof days before you've even gone to where you want to go to. And that's not helpful either. So it's just mentally prepare for what you'll do when you think the time is right.
Prepare for the unprepared is not a silly thing because we
Mm.
can make ourselves ready. And I guess it's being honest as well. If somebody really can't cope with a new smell or a different smell or a lack of the consistency, yeah, I can understand that it helps to help them to understand, we're not going to have everything exactly as it is. So let's be prepared for that. I
Mm.
suppose in calming them down as much as possible, because you just don't know whether the room is going to be hot, cold. You might want the other, whether it's going to be noisy or quiet. Maybe that nice poolside view is on the other side next to the motorway. There's all
Mm.
these things you can't fully prepare for
Mhm.
as much as you might want to. Even if you pay for the right room, it's out of action.
Yeah.
There is a limit, and hotel staff, they work hard, but there is a limit to what they can do for us when they're really really busy. So yeah, there you are, sensory healthy hotel stays. I wrote it down and everything.
Hey, well done.
But this is the thing, though. There are parts of life that we cannot fully control. And if we don't surrender that control sufficiently, we're going to get in more of a state when it isn't what we wanted, expected, paid for, perhaps. But actually, you do need to have a bit of flexibility, even if you don't have sensory health issues. Because you know what? It ain't going to be what you want necessarily, unless you're buying a house, fitting it out for your stay. Since that's not for the most of us, we've got to go a little bit more flexibly.
Yeah, and treat the other people, because it can be really hard, I think, for some of the hotel staff. And they will do that. Hotel staff are geared to treat you really well. It is normally their job they want you to have the best day possible. They want you to be the most refreshed, because that's how they will get their repeat customers and their business will continue. So it is absolutely in their interests to help and to serve you. But there are times with your own stress in the context of everything, if you can be as kind and as polite in the process, that will be so appreciated. I know that one of our, just with some of the flights, going back to the kind of combinations of flights and hotels, when the flight back was cancelled at 11:30 at night, there was one chappie that was behind me in the queue who was obviously going to find it difficult that his overnight bag had actually already gone packed in the plane. And so what was he going to do? And I was thinking, you just wear your clothes kind of thing. It wasn't a big thing for me, because I just thought, well, you have to do what you have to do, and that's it. But you could tell the anxiety in this poor chap, that he was not going to have a toothbrush, that he was not going to have. And I thought, well, there's other ways you can brush your teeth, and So, but I've been used to that. I'm used to traveling. I'm used to that flexibility. But it is hard, and he was trying very hard not to take it out on the staff. But you could tell there was definitely friction there, and that's hard. So it's just within our own, when we're so absorbed in ourselves, if we can pause for a moment and just think there is another human being on the end of our anxiety who will receive it, and how can we do to limit the damage and the awfulness of the situation for them just as much as it is for us.
I guess the other reality is, if you're meeting someone at the airport and they're behind the desk and they've got to say, sorry, your flight's cancelled or we've lost your luggage, or you go to a hotel, you arrive and it's not being cleaned. The reality is the person who you're speaking to does not want you to have a bad day. The reason being, even the laziest of people that we might encounter don't want you to have a bad day, because it's more work for them. So they really want it to be good. They really want you to enjoy yourself. They really want it to be easy, because then if they're lazy, they can go back to being lazy. Hey, they exist. We know that, any career sector. But if they're really, really on it, they're going to want you to have the same experience, because none of us like stress. None of us wants to deal with an angry customer ever. So we all want it to be good. And if it's not good, don't take it out on the person you see first, because you can almost guarantee it's not their fault. Almost always. The people at the checkout, they're not the ones that cancelled the flight. I can promise you, they want you on the flight and gone. So let's not take it out on the people we meet. The first person we meet, almost guaranteed, they're just the messenger. And don't shoot the messenger.
Don't shoot the messenger. That is such a every year. That'll never grow old, that will it? Don't shoot the messenger.
Not ever. Anne, thank you. If you want to connect with Anne and you want some sensory healthy help, whether you're on Jersey or beyond, it doesn't matter for Anne, you can go to our website, pure247radio.org, pure247radio.org/ALJ, and you can contact with Anne Laure Jackson of Sante on Jersey. Thank you, Anne.
Thank you. See you next time.
The December edition of Pure Media, the magazine, has been tinkered with by the elves, and it might even arrive with a team of reindeers, but only if you're quick enough. Talia Dean sits down with Andy B, that'll be me, to talk about her life, her faith, and latest song released ahead of Christmas, and all on purpose. We talk with Ems Hancock and her passion to help others. She really is such a good listener. She speaks of her faith and a very dramatic beginning to that. If you want some Christmas cheer that really will last longer than your New Year's resolutions, you know what to do. Just visit www.puremediathemagazine.com. With no AI, this magazine is made by real people for real people. And don't forget, it makes a rather good Christmas present too. Just saying, we're always on point and in print at puremediathemagazine.com.